Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the QRL Show, the place where you come for the crypto and stay for the quantum. In today's holiday special episode, my co-host Michael Strike and I are excited to be hosting a QRL development AMA with QRL's lead blockchain developer, Kushal Kumar Singh. To those of you watching, whether you are already deep in the QRL ecosystem or you've recently heard about post-quantum security, cryptography, and maybe this is one of your first times, our AMA is designed to really, give you the clearest or latest look at what is to come with QRL and Zond hard fork on the development side, and also why it's a really good time to be paying attention early. So what we've recently done is we've recently pulled a variety of questions from online, from the QRL community, from in Discord, and we've pulled together a number of these questions for the AMA. So if you have submitted a question, we really appreciate it. It's really due to the number of them. Obviously, we might not be able to hit on every single question, but what we've done is we've bucketed them into some different flavors. So some questions about tooling, building, audits, timelines, and we put some of those together so that regardless of if your question was in one category or another, if we can't get to yours, we're going to answer a ton of great questions for everybody that's viewing it. So if you asked a question, awesome, and we hope to get to a ton of them here. And Michael and Kushal, in the spirit of the holidays, I think we should unwrap some of these questions and get into the first one. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it. We've been in testnet here for a few months. Are we doing another testnet before mainnet release, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we will have another testnet before the mainnet release, and we may have even more testnet during the audit phase. So yeah, you can expect testnets with new versions and with changes. And yeah, so for second testnet, yeah, we are definitely going to have that.
That's great news too. Actually, Christmas gift. More testnets. So more testnets on the way. What is with testnets and auditing? What is the updated timeline we're looking at for Zond release? I'm sure that everybody wants to know this question.
Yeah, that's the most interesting question. I think people are excited to know about that, but good thing is like we have still few things to be done, but it's not too much as it used to be few months ago. We have no roadblockers, but we have still few things, not big one, but yeah, small stuffs like optimizing some reward and penalty algorithms. But yeah, majority of the things which are big challenge for us has already been finished, covered, and we have also done some testing, especially with the stability and all those stuff. So we have few things to be done, but nothing major, nothing big, which is going to take a lot of time. And in short, I would say that we are in the wrap up phase. So maybe in couple of weeks or something like that, we will achieve the things that we are looking to finish it.
Nice. There was a question below that, which was similar, asked by Industrial K9, which was the release of MainNet. They also had a question on open items left, and so I think that nicely touches on
Yeah,
that.
that was an
The
industrial K9.
K9, yeah,
Yep.
no, thanks. That was a good question along with the other one that was anonymous. The next one on here is related. It says, well, not related, but it's just Zon release. How long after Zon release do we expect to be caught up with Fusaka and Pectra? For those viewing that are hearing those two names and are like, what are those? Fusaka and Pectra they're just referring to recent Ethereum upgrades, one in the spring and then a recent one as of December 2025. Can and any notes on that one? I'm just going through the list of our questions here.
This is from
I can repeat it if
PQ
you need.
Cybarg.
PQ Cyborg. Yeah, thank you, Strike.
Yeah, so right now our full focus is to release the QRL zone, and now talking about the upgrades like these, we need to look into it, like whether we can have those features without compromising the post quantum security. So that's the one thing. Of course, we will look into all those upgrades thereafter, and whichever is possible, whichever is going to improve the blockchain, we are going to have that. But things there are some barriers, is like if there are some things which requires uh, cryptography stuff which is not yet possible in the post quantum, then we need to like ignore that or cut that till we have some solution or some proven cryptography which could be used to implement that. But in short, I would say uh, we will look into all of those features only after the first release of the mainnet, and which whatever is possible, whichever is the most important feature that is possible to implement on the QRL zone, we will go for that. But yeah,
Yeah,
those
and
upgrades will,
yeah,
yeah. So
and
those
I'll just
upgrades
piggyback on what you're saying there.
yeah.
For things that come out, whether it's the next upgrade after that. For those watching, we're keeping a close eye on all that, and we're always looking at it from the lens of how does it fit into our main play long term. Obviously, sometimes there can be trade offs, or some things are a little more shiny than others. But Kushal, continue that. I just wanted to make sure I added context there.
Yeah, so those upgrades we will prioritize based on which one is more critical and more important. We are going to
Yeah.
prioritize that, and it's like we are always keep an eye on the upgrades. So whichever would be the best for our blockchain, we'll go for that. But yeah, that is going to happen only once we released our QRL Zond mainnet.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Or to ask a question about the timeline for go live. Covered that previously. We have one by Hans Olo. What? I don't know why I laughed. What are your plans? What are your plans post Zond? Are you planning on? Will you stick around?
Yeah, I can answer this one, or you can, Kushal, as well. But
Maybe
on
you
the
can
sticking
call
around part, look at our history. We've been around for a long time. Kushal, talk to it on the development side. Is you need to add anything here? I think we all know the answer here, but
Yeah, so I mean, for the plans post John, as I've already mentioned, we are going to look into the upgrades like Pectra and all those stuff. So we are going to look into that, whichever features are critical and possible to implement in QRL Zone, we are going to do that. Along with that, we are going to work on lots of tools and libraries that will help, or that will ease the dApp development and will support the Zond ecosystem. So there are some libraries like something like OpenZeppelin or something which is heavily used when you develop smart contracts or dApps on Ethereum. So we will look into that, if how to support that on the QRL Zond too. So all of those things are going to happen post Zond. Also, we have some plans to look on the scaling side, like light client support and whatever is possible without compromising the post quantum security. So those are the three steps, like scaling, more tools and libraries, and the upgrades which are already there on Ethereum blockchain, whichever is possible. We are going to implement that. So those three things are the what we have planned post Zond.
perfect. I'm going to jump into. We got the next category here, which had a couple questions that were all in line with audit or auditor related questions. First one here, I'll read right off the docket is, can you speak to any updates on third party audits? For example, any firms been chosen? The question under that is pretty much related, which is on handing over auditors to review. So to those two questions, any insights there, or information that would be helpful to cover for whichever level you'd like to.
Yeah, so I will just keep it short. It's like we already have few firms in our list. The development is still in progress. So, but we have already some of the firms in our list, and that we already met like 6 months ago, something like that, because they have experience and they have some past record. But we will not reveal the name yet. But when it will be there, you will know. And when it will be handed over to the auditors, it would be when we are good for the code freeze, because there are still few things has to be done, and if we hand it over right now, then it means like whatever changes we do, that has to be reviewed again. So it's best to wrap up the things, and we are on that phase. There's nothing big or critical stuff that we have to implement in the goes on, but yeah, still few things has to be done and in multiple repositories. But how the audit is going to start, so it could be something like we may finish couple of repositories before we finish the goes on. So maybe some of those repositories audit will start earlier, and meanwhile we will be implementing the remaining things for the goes on. And when those audits would be finished, maybe it could be go QRLib or something like that, then the auditors will be moving to the Go, Zond, and Chrism, something like that. So that's the rough idea how it's going to start.
Gashal, do you know? Have you and the rest of the devs talked about the classification or the type of audit, be it classical and quantum secure, because there's different classifications of audit, and What is your plan? What is your plan going? What is your plan going forward on that?
I mean, when it comes to the audit, like there are different aspects. One is the cryptography aspect, is like so audit has to be taken carefully when it comes to the cryptography because it's the key. Anything bad there, so mostly it would be a code audit where we have to make sure that there's nothing like memory leak or something, or the cryptography has been implemented as per the NIST standards, all those stuffs. So it would be mostly like a code audit, which happens generally in the software development, and so something like that.
Yeah, so the auditing essentially to make sure that all of the cryptography aligns with NIST standards for all the different protocols. And then, when I said quantum audit, I suppose what I really meant was essentially that, making sure that we're following on the legwork that NIST has already done and all of the research that they've done and all the
Mhm.
organization that they've worked on, having already obviously done a lot of the heavy lifting to make sure that the audit that is done matches the specifications for those protocols.
Yeah,
So okay, that's cool. For those of you who've been watching the media as well, or the media that we've been putting out as well, that's one of the things on the list. Is Project X post quantum secure? Independent third party audits, I think, are very important.
yeah, it would be an independent third party audit. That's true.
Do I take us to the next question, Ryan?
Yeah, let's go to this next one. It's a little bit longer, so I'll read it out. I'll put it on screen as well as we've been doing with a few of the prior ones. This is a long question by Jabber, is their handle. QRL has primarily focused on being a quantum-resistant ledger. Upcoming launch of Zon, the platform will expand to support smart contracts, DeFi, NFTs, and more. How does the team plan to tackle the scalability and performance challenges of running a full blockchain with these new use cases, especially given the quantum resistant cryptographic algorithms can be more computationally intensive? And the question after this is, will there be any trade offs in transaction speed, fees, or energy efficiency as adoption grows? And how does QRL plan to ensure Zon remains both secure and efficient at scale?
Okay, so that one was a
So a
bit.
couple
That
questions
one
in
was a
one
bit.
here. Quite a bit here.
I
So feel
think
free to pick off any of these parts or strike
I
kind of
think he's asking to elaborate on the crypto agility, the post quantum crypto agility of Zond.
yeah, that and balancing
It's all around
security and efficiency as we scale. That's at least in the last part, but
Yeah, so when it comes to the scalability, especially with the post quantum blockchain, the only thing that is a barrier is the cryptography schemes. So it's like to scale, we need some kind of post quantum cryptography which can do the signature aggregation. We don't have anything like that yet, and those are the challenges. So scalability is mostly dependent on the cryptography schemes, the post quantum cryptography schemes, which can do signature aggregation or like zero knowledge proof, all those stuff. So once those something which is battle tested or something which is standardized by some reputed organization, maybe NIST or something, then we can look into them and have that on our blockchain. But as long as those things doesn't exist, it will have impact on how large we can scale. So it's like we may have a light client support, but when it comes to the scalability, we need some time, especially when uh, unless we have some proven cryptographies like the post quantum cryptographies which can do the stuffs that we wanted to, which is not yet available. There are some papers, not some but maybe many papers, but they are not yet something well tested or something which is standardized by NIST or some reputed organization. So that's what we have to wait for, because without that, it's like if there would be any small issue in any of those cryptography aggregation or such kind of stuff, then that could have huge issues, like it could make your wallet vulnerable and all those stuff. So that's why we have to be careful when it comes to the scalability, and when we have to choose some cryptography schemes for the aggregation or zero knowledge proof and all those stuff. So this part will be slow, or it would be something which will be totally dependent on how soon the post quantum cryptography make progress in the future.
yeah, and just to expand on this a little bit, just for the viewer that might be viewing this at being like, some maybe people, especially people that might be a little less technical, might be like, "Ooh, is that a problem?" This is the naturally due to the nature of we're not just making decisions off a whim. Everything has intention behind why it's planned. So obviously, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, there's trade-offs. So we can't just willy-nilly go into one thing or another. It has to stick to the foundation of being post quantum secure at the core. And as we move and scale aspects, it has to still stay true to that. Am I reading that part correctly? I just want to make sure all the viewers, from your very retail, non-technical, all the way to heavy technical folks, are understanding that. Strike, feel free to interject as well. I just want to make sure that people don't see this as a flaw, but rather it's a natural progression as
Yeah.
the technology
Agility
moves
takes
forward.
more time. You have to, like,
Yep.
to Kushal's point, it sounds like he's focusing on making the DSAs a little bit more modular than maybe they would have been otherwise if this was some sort of finalized product, which I don't think QRL 2.0 is essentially a finalized product. Blockchain's a living ecosystem. It has its own. It has its own. It has its own life essentially, right? So it sounds like, I mean, from what I heard, it sounds like we're on top of the crypto agility aspect and being able to upgrade in the future. And I'm sure Kushal's on top of that. Go ahead
Absolutely.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Kushal.
Oh, no, you are right. So it's like, yeah, we will have trade-offs. One of the question was like, are we going to have trade-offs? So yeah, we
Everything
will
has a
have
trade-off.
trade-offs.
Trade-off with
Yeah,
everything.
Yep.
that's
Yeah. Do you want to
Um,
get to this? There's one more question on here, Strike, on the competition. You want
sure.
to get to that one, and then we'll jump to the next?
Yeah. Okay. So the competition with, I'm not sure who asked this. The competition with smart contracts is fierce. When quantum computing becomes more relevant, there will be other blockchains that will make quantum readiness more relevant for their smart tracks. For their smart contracts. What will make Zon stand out? I'll just answer part of this. With our testnet and what sounds like the upcoming testnet, you're gonna have post quantum secure first mover advantage with your smart contracts or EVM that you can port over from Ethereum in Solidity by running our compiler and running on Zond. So for just before just right off the bat, it sounds like what will make Zond stand out is post quantum security since the first block, secured by NAST standards, that is already compatible with your Ethereum smart contracts, like call it 98, 99% compatible. There'll be some addressing differences and you have to recompile. But what will make Zon stand out? It's first mover advantage. Post quantum security. Tell your clients you'll be able to say to your clients, we're thinking about post quantum security, and we've done this, and we're working with QRL, and we have this chain or this this EVM or this portion of our code running on the QRL for this reason. Now, how that gets split up between what project is running, which code for which project is running on Ethereum versus which part is running on Zond, there's going to be some disparity there, but the individual projects will have to figure that out for themselves, whether or not it's distributed across Ethereum and Zond, perhaps, or what that looks like. But the important thing here is that the option exists and it's being hand delivered, in that I can't think of any other way to make it more compatible other than just be essentially Solidity Ethereum compatible. And like I said, since the first block, there is no quantum migration plan with QR. The problem was solved from Genesis. So go ahead, Kushal, and fill in anything.
yeah. I mean, you have already covered most of the things. So it's like one thing that will differentiate us from any other competition that is going to come in future is the history of how we evolved from POW to POS, how we did migration from one blockchain to the other QRL zone, how we moved from one cryptography to every cryptography. So all of those will be the part of the history, and everyone can see us like it's kind of a record that you can see on the QRL zone, like how it started from just a proof of work blockchain without any smart contract, and then they moved to proof of stake with smart contracts, still maintaining the post quantum security. So all those things will be a big advantage for us because people can see like how well we have done all those migration stuff and everything. So that is something will always differentiate us, and having a good history is something which is very hard to earn. You can have a new blockchain and 5 years from now you may be seeing that project doesn't exist anymore, and whereas you will be seeing that a QR blockchain something running from the mainnet since 2018, so something like that. Other than that, the experience that we have as a team, whether it comes to the marketing or whether it comes to the development, like we have seen the whole industry how it is moving from one to another. Is like when we started, so no one ever knows like what the quantum computer was in 2018. Most of the people were not even aware of. Today it's becoming or coming to the hype, somehow people are now getting aware of. So we have seen the dynamic of how the this business is something change has changed a lot by these years. And other thing is like the challenges that we have faced with the cryptographies, whether it comes to stateful like XMSS, then to stateless. So all of those things we have seen this. So these experience are also going to help us to take the decisions in the future for the how we can make further development and progress. So those will be differentiating us from the competitors.
Yeah, we've been running for 7 years. We connected these dots before quantum was a household name.
Yeah. And we're not trying to, and we're just piggybacking on what you're saying, Strike. We're not trying to, we're not looking at this problem and tackling on the word post quantum secure. That's baked into where we've been at for, we're coming in, it's coming in on, since 2018, even prior to that, going back to the white paper. It's not something that gets tacked on and looks like a veneer of post quantum security. It's the underlying foundation of what leads the rest of the decisions of where we're at. And sure, people are going to be looking at that, but we're going to stay true to what we're doing and, that mission, just baking to what you're saying there. So
we have been.
Appreciate that that answer, Kushal. The next one, I think we're going to jump to a little bit different category, maybe a couple questions around staking, migration. I think this one here, Johnlers is their handle here. They had a question around the amount you need to stake to run a node and why that amount. But I think I'll just ask a more general question to the viewer. Can you give a little bit of insight, Kushal? I know this might be dynamic as well, but can you give some insights to the viewer, those that are looking at staking? Can you touch on any info in terms of amount you need to stake to run a node? Is there any set numbers right now, or how are you thinking about that so we can give some insights to the community and audience abroad?
I think John
Yeah.
Lers wants to know if it's still 40K.
So right now it's like 40,000 quanta is required to stake, and I haven't found any reason to change it yet. But this is the amount, and if anything changes, we will let you know. But for now, 40,000 QRL is required to stake. The reason that why we have 40,000 QRL is something like when it comes to stake, and if you misbehave in the network, you have to be like penalized. So you should have some meaningful amount on the stake, something like lock, because when it comes to penalizing, when you misbehave or do something in a dishonest way, you should have something to lose. So based on kind of a game theory, that you should have some meaningful amount in risk when you are misbehaving in the network. Other reason that why we have like 40,000 QRL is because of the post quantum cryptography signature size. So it's like post quantum signatures are like very big. So if we reduce the staking amount, then that means we will have too many validators. Having too many validators means like everyone will be doing some attestation signature in block, and in that case the block size will become huge. So huge, it's like it may even go beyond 10 megabytes or something, just for with the attestation signature, without having any other transactions like moving funds or something like that. With just attestation signature, it could go beyond 10 megabytes or something like that. And because we do not have anything like signature aggregation or something like that, which has the post quantum security at the same time, so that's why we have to come up with some meaningful number. So for now it's 40,000 QRL or 40,000 quanta required to stake. But in future, when we will have something to scale like signature aggregation and all those stuffs, then we can look into to reduce this number, and it may reduce drastically, something like very small amount, something like that. But for now, this is what we are expecting, like 40,000 QRL is required to stake.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So for those viewing, to Johnlers who asked this and others, that's where it's set at now. But keep an eye on. We're obviously gonna have updated information as we progress, and people can keep an eye on that clearly, and we'll share that with them. Michael, you want to jump into the next question?
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
still got a number more on our AMA docket here.
That's by Average Joe. Will existing QRL colored tokens be transferable or migratable into Zon smart contract tokens, or are they separate legacy model? Is the first question. Will Zond include a native DEX or marketplace for post-quantum secure tokens? And is there an estimated timeline toward MainNet usability? So we answered the MainNet usability part already, and I think that DEX. I don't think the team is working on a DEX right now. We're mostly just getting towards Zon, so that's DEX will probably initially be community driven. From a developer perspective, how similar will creating and managing Zon tokens be compared to ERC20 tokens? And thanks for all of your good work. So the remaining questions are how similar will be creating and managing Zon tokens compared to Ethereum, and will colored QRL tokens be transferable? I think I handled that properly.
Yeah, a lot of questions in one, but yes, thanks for breaking it down, Strike.
Yeah, so for the color tokens, yeah, that would be transferable. So we will have a migration algorithm which will allow you to move these tokens that you have built on the existing QRL blockchain to the QRL zoned. And it will be also created in a smart contract format. So yeah, it would be there. But further details will be shared later on. But for now, it is sufficient to say, yeah, you will be able to migrate your existing tokens from QRL to QRL zoned. Now, coming to the DEX or marketplace, so it is something that we will look into it maybe after we have had a code freeze or something like that. If needed, we can have an open source code which is built, which could be an example of like how you can have a DEX or marketplace on the QRL zone, which people can fork and make any changes if they want to. But yeah, if required, we can do that. Like we did for the QRL proof of work blockchain when we didn't have any specific mining pool code. What we did is we forked the existing mining pool code and then we made changes into it to make it compatible with the QRL proof of work blockchain. And then other mining pools, they have an idea like, okay, these are the changes that is required to be done. And by that, they have done similar changes into their code and they were able to host the mining pool for the QRL proof of work blockchain. So similar way, if required, we can do the DEX and marketplace stuff too, so that that will act as an example. If people want, they can use the same code, or at least they will be aware of okay, what changes is required if I'm using some other forked code of DEX and or marketplace. So yeah, we could have that something, or we could help us something like that for people to build something like that on our blockchain.
Well, a strong community is the backbone of a good blockchain project. I think there's going to be
Yeah.
people out there that are going to want first mover advantage in post quantum security. So it's the first block, and they'll just start deploying the chain because they've already written. I mean, Dex has been around for I don't know how long, man, like at least like 8 years or something. The code is already there on a Solidity. Someone's going to bump it on. Someone will drop it on chain and be first mover.
Yeah, and that's the case. We might get to this in a couple questions, but that's the case. Whether it's something on the DeFi side, DEX. If you're watching this and you have an inkling to do that, it's a great opportunity on that front. So, is there
Yeah,
any more strike to that question? I think
I
Kushal,
think
you answered. We
I
covered it
think there
nicely.
is one
Yeah.
more is which is ERC20 tokens. So
Hmm.
uh, creating ERC20 tokens
Yeah, it's
on our blockchain is, I would say in layman terms, it's like 99.99% it's nearly same. So we already have an example code, Zond contract example, which already shows you how you can uh, deploy a ERC20 token on QRL Zond, how you can make transfers from that smart contract. So the example already exists since the first version of the testnet. So they can also look into that repository, but in layman terms, 99.99% it's same.
Yep. And just for quick reference, we can drop it in the show notes as well. Which repository is that in? Just for a reminder for those that are maybe new to the project.
Yeah, so it's the Zond contract example. So it's like github.com/the QRL/Zond contract example.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Strike, you want to get to this next question on the looks like a recap on
Yeah, I
major
don't know who
changes.
asked it, but it says, can you recap the major changes being made, packages being developed for Zond in the progress for each one? I think they're just asking about what packages we're developing.
Yeah, so I will keep it high level. So something like we upgraded cryptography from dilithium 5 to MLDSA 87. That was one of the major upgrade because the change in cryptography required changes in everything from Web3 JS to compiler to goes on Prism, all the parts. Other than that, we have a q prefixed address. So we had a new address format where we wanted to have a q as a prefix in the address, so we have that. For that, we made changes into wallet, Hyperion compiler, goes on Prism, Web3 JS, all of those repositories. Other than that, like we have added multiple APIs for QRL Zond Web3 wallet. QRL Zond Web3 wallet is like the MetaMask, like you have a MetaMask wallet in Ethereum. Similarly, we have QRL Zond Web3 wallet, which is very similar to that. And it's a Chrome extension. You can install that and then maybe interact with your dApp or something like that. You or communicate with it. So it's very much similar to that of MetaMask. We are also working on blockchain explorer, so a new blockchain explorer for QRL Zond, which has like the UI UX and API development is in progress. So it's like you will see all those informations that you expect to see. It would be similar to like etherscan. Like etherscan is for Ethereum, so it is bit similar to that. And but yeah, we have a different UI and APIs for that, and it is in progress. So these are the major things that we have worked till now. There are still few big things that we are working on, and it will be revealed later on.
So as far as deploying
Perfect.
the chain, interacting with the chain, exploring the chain, it's very, very close to Ethereum. I guess is how
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
summarize that. And
Yeah, I think
by design.
yeah, the next question I think you, Kushal, you just touched on a number of these is great examples to point to. I'll read it and then we'll see if there's any others. But this one was a question from community member. I was introduced to QRL initially from you guys' QRL show a while back and love it. Took me down the rabbit hole and I've been hooked ever since. Well, thank you to this user. As a developer, can you help give me some insights into what I can and should be starting to do now in Testnet if I'm planning to build an app on it? What will set me up as MainNet gets closer? Is there anything I should wait on? I listened to your last AMA and agree on the being early part. I just want to know on the timing of when to start rolling. I think this is a good question in
Yeah.
general. I know you just touched on a
What
couple
should
things,
devs
but
start doing now?
this
What
is a
can
good
they do?
question. Yeah.
Yeah, so as a developer, if you are going to start something with the QRL Zond, the first thing is you should get acquainted of the whole ecosystem. So it is still in development, but there are still lots of things can be done. It's like, so if you want to build something, the first thing you need to understand how you can start the QRL Zond node, how you can connect with the testnet, how you can create wallet, make some transfers. We already have Web3 JS libraries. We already have existing smart contract example code, which I've mentioned just few minutes ago. It's like we already have how you can create ERC20 token, how you can make transfers of those tokens between wallets. So you should look into the basic stuffs once you know what you already have. Yeah, and the most important thing is we also have the wallet, which I mentioned earlier, is QRL Zond Web3 wallet, which is very much similar to MetaMask. So what you can do is we have the API. So if you are building some dApp, let's say you are building some DEX or something which requires to pay by the user. So we already have the API. You can communicate with the QRL Zond Web3 wallet, and the user will get the message like, okay, you need to approve this transactions. If user press approve, then the transaction goes on. So something which is very much similar that happens on the Ethereum ecosystem when you are using wallets like MetaMask. Something's the same way you can do that in the QRL Zond Web3 wallet. We also have documentation for that too with examples. So it's like we do have things. So yeah, the first thing is you should get acquainted with whatever things we already have, example code, and start playing with it. We are still working on the documentation to improve it further to make it easier. We are still working on some of the tools which are required to ease the development, but whatever we have now is still suffice for anyone to create things like text or marketplace in the existing testnet. It will be a bit of pain, but it's not impossible.
We're going to have additional complementary assets, both in written form, some in visual form as well, with screen shares, walkthroughs as we progress to those stages. And that naturally will come out as we hit in on more of this stuff, especially on the UI UX side, where you want to have a visual to go along with it. But do exactly as Kushal said, of jumping into the stuff you just mentioned now, and then over the coming months and this exciting new year, which we're to come on, we're going to have even more of that. So anything to piggyback on that, Strike?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that answers
yeah.
really
What's
nice.
what we mentioned this in the last AMA? Kishal, what's the URL? Where's the best place to start?
Documentation, of course, is the best place. Second best place is to connect with us on Discord. You have any questions, just put that on Discord. Community members or the developers will definitely help you. So that's the best thing. If you're not getting something, someone has already done that, they will definitely help you.
So
Perfect. I will put both those.
www.qrl.org/.
You can go to /Z/Zond. I'll put a link to the
We put a link in
documentation
the
below the
YouTube.
show. And then I'll link to Discord as well. All the links are in the show notes below this, as well as just joining Discord within the QRL community. No, that's perfect. I think, Strike, you want to jump? I think we have maybe 2 to 3 closeout questions here. This one on Zond enabling EVM. You want to get to this one, and then
Yeah,
we'll
I
slowly
see
close
one
it out.
left. Let's see. Was on enabling EVM compatibility. What is the recommended approach for developers who want to integrate QRL's quantum safe wallet into Ethereum-like distributed apps without relying on command line tools or external daemons? Daemons, not a developer. Specifically, is there a supported dependency-light Python JavaScript library that allows secure programmatic wallet generation and signing compatible with Zon's transaction format? Something that would be suitable for enterprise automation or API-driven deployments.
First thing is we have been already working with having cryptography and wallet implementation both in uh, Go language as well as in JavaScript. So it's like we have MLDSA library both for wallet and cryptography available in Go language and JavaScript. So if someone wants to develop something in JavaScript, they can use the JavaScript version of library. If someone is doing in Go language, they can use the Go version of the library. It will help you to generate wallet and do the stuff which is required to be done in enterprises. Other than that, we are also working on the QRL Zond Chrome extension, which is the QRL Zond Web3 wallet, which I have mentioned earlier, which already comes up with the API, which is generally used by the dApp developers. Because when you are building dApp, sometimes you need people to pay something or withdraw something or something like that. And in that case, you need to interact with the wallet. So that's why we have this Zond QRL Zond Web3 wallet. So with the API, so developers can use those APIs uh, to call this Web3 wallet and have users approve or permission, something like that. So like interaction with the dApps will happen like that. uh, and library, I have already mentioned JavaScript and Go language library for both cryptography and the wallet. And in future, it is going to like extend in other languages too. So if someone wants to do something in some different languages, it will be supported. But for now, JavaScript and Go language are suffice. We do have Web3 JS libraries. So if you want to do something like transactions or something like that, you don't need to worry much. You can simply use the Web3 JS library to do the transactions by providing the required parameters, whatever it is. Or if you want to develop some Web3 applications, you can use those Web3 libraries too. So yeah, that's what we have for now.
Perfect. I think we got one more question pulled from Discord here, and then I think we have one more final one to wrap us up. I'll read this one out. Once Zon moves into the several month audit stage that you've mentioned previously, as that happens, are there any other major hurdles or roadblocks once that's taking place that might impact, the release of MainNet? P.S. I'm really excited for what is to come. The team's weekly updates and content quality keeps getting better. As always, the presentation of it by Ryan and Strike is quite crisp. Cheers. So thanks all across the board on that front for that kind note. But I think that's what they're really asking is kind of with the timeline of what you mentioned earlier in the episode. Once it gets to the audit stage, any other big foreseeable roadblocks or friction points that you see, any added notes to cover for this, just broadly speaking,
Do we have
as
any
we
blockers?
near and closing it out?
I think you said we didn't.
So
No.
I don't see any road blockers. All I see is what would come in the audit report. So whatever things would come in audit report, we have to make those changes. So that's what is going to take time, but nothing like a major hurdle that we expect other than fixing whatever is suggested in the audit report. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's we kind of touched on that in the earlier question.
That's what the audit's
Michael, I think to close us out, I think you want to wrap us up with one last question. I think to those viewing, I think there's kind of a mix of people on the building side, looking to get their hands, especially around the holiday season, heading into the new year. People setting goals of what they want to do for the new year. You have a last question to close us out, and then I'll wrap it up.
How are you feeling about 2026, Kushal?
Very much optimistic, and I think is the actual year for the QRL Zond. Very much close to it, and excited to have it on the mainnet.
I said in 2024, I felt really good about 2025, and using a lot of metrics, the project has done really well. I'm glad that it did. So what I said checked out, but we've seen a substantial volume increase. I would say velocity of trading, and obviously the pairing towards the US dollar has gone up in 2025. So I'm looking forward for 2026 as well. I think it's going to be another exciting year.
Yeah, no, and I think, and especially in the, as we're right, the three of us are having this call right in the heart of the holiday season. When you're viewing this, you might be in the holiday season yourself. Maybe you snuck out away from the family dinner to take part and see what's going on with the latest QRL Dev AMA, or maybe you're watching this just as we head into 2026. There's just a lot of exciting stuff to come. As we touched on earlier in the episode, we have been preaching both in the cryptography on the development side of post-quantum cryptography from day one of our project.
So many years.
If we said this 3 years ago, people would say 20, 30 years away. If we said it in 2018, it was way too early. I think now we're at a point where we're really excited about what is coming up with MainNet as we're in 2026. I think finally on the greater blockchain side, I think a lot more people continue waking up to the seriousness of the quantum threat, which I think when you add up all those things together, it's very exciting. And I think that there's a lot of, if you're viewing this video, there's a lot for you to be excited about, whether you're a developer to get in early in building. If you are just involved in the QRL project, there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot. Join in on the discussion in Discord. Watch if you have any other people that you want to introduce to the project. We have a lot of tangible stuff that is based in what is really going on, what people can start to build now. So as always, that's the closing thoughts I have. Kushal, Michael, and I really always appreciate chatting with you. Obviously, the team is really busy. There's a lot going on internally that is getting built each week that we're excited about, but any opportunity that we have to share that with the greater community and those that are passionate about the project, I'm always excited about that. Any last thoughts, Kushal or Michael? I think that's a great way to close it out, and I think I'm pretty good.
Very much optimistic about next year, and I want to wish everyone a happy holidays.
Yeah, no, same here. And, for those of you, as we covered, a lot of the links to what Kushal has covered in this AMA are in the description. So as you have time throughout the holiday season, going into the new year, check out those links, see what you can do, get your hands dirty, check out stuff in Testnet, see what you can start to review, whether it's stuff on the smart contract side. And as always, we really appreciate you being with us in this special holiday season. And we are excited for 2026 to come. Until the next episode in the new year, be sure to keep those digital assets post-quantum secure. And Kushal, Michael, and I We'll see you very soon. Thank you.